Good morning. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And I have to say, yesterday was a great evening. I find it a fantastic idea to have such an evening at the Guggenheim Museum, right? Just me personally. Fantastic evening. So directly diving into the company, trying to explain who we are, what we do. The company was actually founded by venture capital, together with some guys from the battery industry. They discussed how we could actually bring technology that is successful into the Western markets, right? And they directly established the company with substantial funding. Don't want to go too much into detail, but we directly built a plant. I will show you sometime in the next slides what that is. And we are starting with actually electrolyte manufacturing, right? So when we talk batteries, there's a couple of key components. One of the key components I will explain more is the electrolyte. So what we are trying to do is establishing battery production, battery chemistry production, being a platform for growth in the Western Hemisphere, meaning in North America, Europe, etc. Right? So trying to show what we already have and what we are trying to do. So we do have already here in blue, a gigafactory for electrolyte in the Czech Republic. Capacity is 200 KT, 200 kilotons, that is. We are planning a gigafactory for electrolyte in the US, in Texas, 100 kilotons, and that is actually what we are currently seeking funding for. Also for Czech phase 2, where we will do additives for anode and cathode chemistry. And we are also planning a green low-carbon chemical park in Spain, where we will also make electrolyte, but also cathode active material in the future. What we already have also is an R&D center in APAC, actually in China. Why there? Because there's where all the know-how is sitting in the chemistry of those batteries. Just to give you some impressions, this is our office in Houston. Woodlands is a suburb of Houston. This is our office in Weinheim, which is pretty close to Frankfurt. And that is our APAC headquarters, the R&D lab facility here, that building in Liang, China, Jiangsu province, so close to Shanghai. Good. Just to give you an idea where we are sitting in the battery stream, this is what we talked before. Everybody talks about cathode materials, nickel, cobalt, actually the oxides, and that is where the oxygen is coming from for when the battery is burning. That is not tackling with LFP, lithium iron phosphate. That is actually pretty stable, so no problem there. What we are making is electrolyte. I'll show you in a minute what that consists of. And also additives that increase the heat or the electrical conductivity of the anode and the cathode material. That is also what we are doing. And all that, those four key materials, cathode, anode, electrolyte, and separator, go into the battery cell, into every individual battery cell, no matter what application you're using. Okay, just to give you an impression of the chemistry that is inside the cells, consists of up to 80% of solvent, actually carbonated solvents. So there's actually production processes to make those with like a carbon source, and basically that can be CO2, depending on the process that you're using. So you can actually use carbon dioxide to make those. They are biodegradable, by the way. What you need for those, it's a commodity. You need economics of scale. You need to sit in the right location where you have abundant raw material at a good price and low energy cost. Key component is the lithium salts that are actually transporting the charge from one side to the other in the battery. Salts like LiPF6, LiFSI, for those that are familiar with the topic. For those, you need actually have a very good and efficient process, a good raw material source, because you need nasty stuff like hydrofluoric acid, and you don't want to transport that over long distances. And you need skilled labor, very important, to run those plants, right? And you need the process know-how, very important. And then in addition to that, additives, that is now really R&D focused, and there's a lot of development still going on where you can actually, of course, also there you need like access to raw materials, energy, etc. But here also know-how is very important, what you need to develop for which kind of application. And you can see that in the media, the battery technology is evolving every day, right? For super fast charging, higher capacity, and that all happens with LFP batteries. And you think, man, LFP is like a commodity in itself, but it's changing basically every couple of months, right? And you always have to adapt the electrolyte to the new demands. So you always have to do some adjustments on the chemistry there. Good. So what we are trying to do, what we are doing already, core products, electrolyte and additives for cathode and anode. But our vision is to also make these upstream materials like the solvent and the lithium salts. We have access to the technology. We have access to the right people. We are just implementing one project after the other in the right location with the right people, with the right process. That is very important. And then we want to, that is our vision, create a whole chemical ecosystem for battery chemistry. So, just to give you a couple of impressions, we have the APEC R&D Center. Also there, certain processes are completely automated. We'll come to that in a minute. We established actually a lot of battery testing. That is what you need to do if you're developing chemistry for the battery. You actually have to build batteries and test those and cycle those and see how they behave under low temperature, high temperature, fast charging, slow charging, etc. For that is what you need, what we call testing channels. We already have like 6,000 testing channels. We are going to have 10,000, 13,000 moving forward in 2026. For that, you actually need a lot of energy and a lot of people also, and a lot of know-how. Just to give you some impressions, that of course is not a photo that is animated, but that is actually photos here. On the left-hand side is office and R&D facility. On the right-hand side is actually scale-up production site for some of the conductivity materials for the anode and the cathode. And that is how that whole space is looking like. It's more like an open space concept for the offices. Of course, that's a break area, not the office itself. And that is one of the advantages that we have. We are actually extremely fast. I was working at a German chemical company for many, many years, actually more than 20. We were looking into building an electrolyte facility ourselves. We were planning, detailed planning. It would have taken us overall, I would say, 2.5 to 3 years. We actually built that facility in a little bit more than 1 year, a little bit more than 12 months. So you can see the same spot, drone photos in December 2023, and this is an actual drone photo from February this year. Workshop is done, all the processing equipment is inside, and we are ready to go. Tankage is also there. That is actually solar panels on the roof, etc. Why Czech Republic? Because it's very short, halfway between that battery hub in Hungary and the battery hub in the Braunschweig, Berlin area in Germany, right? Both directions, almost the same distance. And in the north, you have Poland, where you have LG sitting with the largest battery capacity currently in Europe. The other very important fact, talking about state-of-the-art technology, and you might have seen articles recently about all this automation also happening in Chinese factories. Yes, that is true. Our facility is actually completely automated, including what we call an MOM system, Manufacturing Operations Management. That is a software that is sitting above all the processes, collecting the data points, data collection from quality measurements here in line, loading and unloading, and then also the containers, no matter if it's isotainers or the iso tanks, pressure monitored all the time online, temperature controlled, because the chemistry is actually not so super stable before it's getting filled into a battery, because there's actually chemistry inside that is supposed to react during the so-called formation cycle of the battery. Therefore, you should be in the vicinity of the actually battery manufacturing site. One very important fact. Okay, we can discuss more if you're interested in that. And then last but not least, I was speaking about very efficient processes, latest state-of-the-art processes, using carbon dioxide to manufacture solvents, etc. Can discuss more. Of course, we have an ESG commitment also. Thank you very much.